In my first episode, I'm talking with one of my favorite people on the planet. He's been my mentor and collaborator for 2 decades, and I've been co-creating my play, Turn and Face the Strange, with him for the past 5 years. Here's a bit more about him. Jason Sirois has spent more than 30 years working at the intersection of theater, community building, and social change. After 31 years in New York City, Jason recently moved to Tulsa, Oklahoma with his husband Bill and 2 cats to be a support to his father-in-law. He was thrilled to find a thriving local theater community in Tulsa where he has directed The Importance of Being Earnest and served as musical director for productions of Cabaret, Frozen, and Gypsy. He continues to collaborate with his husband, who is a musical theater writer, to create theater events that feature Bill's original songs. They also started a monthly musical sing-along event at Tulsa's Equality Center that brings together musical theater lovers from all across the metropolitan area. While he's been helping me create my play, he's also looking forward to returning to the stage himself in 2027 to star in a production of Buyer and Seller. By the way, hi, it's me, PK. Welcome to It's All About the Process, where we get inside the creative process of theater makers and multi-hyphenates to learn how to create an artistic practice that sustains us and how to keep going when we feel like giving up. If you don't know me, I'm an international acting voice and artist development coach and a former New York City theater professor. If you've ever been coached by me, then you know I love talking about creativity and the actor's process because it's all about the process. Let's jump in. Hi, Jason. Thank you so much for being with me today. Let's start with, when did you first realize you wanted to pursue performing professionally?
That's such an interesting question because I don't think I ever realized it. I think I got into performing kind of because I was in the room. And what I mean by that is I loved dancing. My mom used to yell at me in the grocery store when I was like 3 and to just walk because I would just dance everywhere. And so my parents put me into ballet and I loved it. Then I had to stop when I was 10 because I had some bone problems. But when I got to college and I was there for arts administration, I happened to be at a school that had a great theater program, Wagner College on Staten Island. And my roommate knew everyone in the theater program. When they found out I played piano, they were like, "Oh my God, can you play for me?" So I started playing in the pits of the shows that they would do. But I sat in the pit and I looked up at the stage because I love dancing so much. I was like, I could do that so much better. And I just had that yearning to show the world what I love doing, I think is how I would describe it. And so I auditioned for a show my sophomore year and got in. And so I still graduated with that business arts administration degree, but I kind of just got into the theater thing. And then when I graduated, I got work. I got a national tour a year after I graduated college, and one thing led to another. And so that's how I got into it. It was it seemed really cool. Let's do it. And I had some skill and desire to dance. So
How did your friends and in the theater program at Wagner take you under their wing and foster that into not just dancing, but then into theater?
I don't even know if it was that. I think in college, at least at Wagner College, I don't know what it's like anywhere else. It's a very small school and a very small program. And how did they take me under their wing? You know what's so interesting? I think I had the skill right away. So when I first auditioned, everyone was kind of like, "Oh, who is this guy?" And then I just was one of them.
Mm.
I think I just was one of them. Interestingly, dance classes, I would play piano for ballet class. And my friends, my freshman year before I ever auditioned for anything, took tap class and they were like, "You should come to tap class." And I had tap shoes because I did 42nd Street in high school. That was the only show I ever did. And I feel like I'm amazing with this answer, but it's such a funny memory. So the teacher let me kind of audit that one class. And they were doing double pullbacks across the floor. I had never done a pullback, never mind a double pullback. And she demonstrated, and I just did double pullbacks across the floor. And I was like, "Oh my God, I just did double pullbacks." And everyone, I think, assumed I clearly was a tap dancer.
Yeah.
When my body just did things. And so that to me, I was like, oh my God, I can do. So it was more than the ballet, which I loved. I was like, I can tap dance. I can.
Do you
So
think it was
I
to
don't,
do with, like, your skill level in or, like, coordination skills that you got foundationally that primed you for being able to immediately jump
yeah.
in and do something quite difficult?
Yeah. And so to your question, I've gone so far around to try to figure out. I can't think of a time that people took me under their wing. The biggest thing was socially. I didn't know, not to get into my growing up and being bullied, but I had to learn how to let people in, and the theater program was the place. When people would hug so freely and everything, I was like, what are you doing? Why are we touching? So I think that's how people took me under their wing, which allowed me to even be able to be in a theatrical like community where that's, it's not everyone is like that, but it's a very welcoming community.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
How did that lead to you auditioning? Like, how did you learn about how to do that? Like, not being in a theater program, but being among theater students. How did you know, "Okay, yeah, I'm gonna go start auditioning now," and how did you learn about that, or did anybody teach you that?
Nobody taught me. I played for an audition class at school. I didn't take any theater classes. I didn't take any acting classes or anything. But I picked things up, I think, of how to be yourself and all of that. There was a great audition class. But the first audition I ever went on was because a bunch of people were going into the city to audition for the European tour of 42nd Street. And because I could tap dance, I'm like, I will too. Let's do this. And out of all of the guys, it was me and one other guy, and he got it. And I mean, this sounds dramatic, but they put us in a line and they were picking 12 of us. And I think there were like, 24, I guess. And they had 11 people step forward. It was so a chorus line. And then they had
Yes.
me step forward. I was the last one. And then they were like, actually, Jason, step back. And they had the guy next to me step forward. And then they had me step forward. And then they had him step forward. And then they were like, everyone in the front line, congratulations. It was literally a chorus line. And I was like, oh my
Absolutely.
God, I was so close. So that was my first audition. And it was because everyone was doing it. I probably never would have had the courage to go by myself. It
Yeah.
just seemed like a fun thing to do.
And then how did that lead you to booking a national tour? Like, what were the next steps that you took towards performing professionally?
So I think by our last year, everyone was talking about, what are you doing after graduation? What are you doing? So by that spring, we were all auditioning for summer stock, and like anything backstage was a newspaper then. So
Mhm.
we would like sit in the dining hall and read backstage. Like, what are we going to do? It was such, even remembering this, I'm like, oh, that was so fun. There was so much potential. Like everything was possible. So yeah, I just did a bunch of auditions. And it's funny when you're graduating college, theaters really take advantage of the fact that you don't have a lot of experience. And I got offers at theaters where they were paying like $50 a week and you didn't have any days off. Because when you weren't doing a show, you were the mascot of the of the theater doing children's theater. Like,
Yeah.
and then I got one that paid a little better, but I had to pay for my room. And it was like, so then it was crazy, but it was so great. I worked at Theater by the Sea in
All
Rhode
right.
Island. And that was my first professional gig
Mhm.
performing. But interestingly, 2 years before that, I had worked there as an assistant musical director in the pit. So, like, they kind of knew me. So when I walked
Mhm.
into audition, I think they were like, oh, wait, you're a performer. So I may have had a little, because they liked me. Like,
Yeah. Mhm.
they enjoyed working with me.
Yeah.
So that was my first professional gig.
Amazing.
Um, do you want to know how I got into the
I
tour?
do, but I actually just thought of another question, which is
Oh, okay.
about how much it's probably changed for theater students graduating and not having like what you just described as sitting at a table and looking at the things together and that sense of community and
Mhm.
not this it's me versus everybody, but like we're going to go audition, we're going to go into the city as a group, and I really feel like that's completely gone now and everybody's like every man for themselves, and yeah, like only the fittest survive kind of thing. can feel
Yeah.
really isolating, I think, for a lot of my students.
Yeah, I mean, I will say this, we were very competitive. That 42nd Street audition, we were like, "Let's go together." "Motherfucker, why didn't he get it?" Like, we all had feelings. We were
Yeah.
all out for ourselves, but it was so nice because we did have each other to
Yeah.
go together.
Yeah. I was just gonna say, I think that at least having people to go with you, like,
Yeah.
puts you at ease in a different way of not feeling like it's you
Yeah.
versus everybody else, even if there is some healthy competition between you
Yeah.
and your peers.
Yeah, because in the holding room, you're not alone.
Yeah,
Because
you
that
know
holding
people.
room, your mind can go because 'cause you're looking at all of the people, and they sound amazing. "Oh my god, what am I doing here?"
Mm.
Kinda stuff. But you asked, um, today, you know what was interesting? I just played a master class, just sat at the piano for, college seniors at an OU here in Oklahoma, which is a
Mhm.
great program. And the students, they were so supportive of each other. And like men, like competitive, where they could compete for the same stuff. They were so supportive of each other in a really genuine way. And at the end, I hung out for the dialogue with the person teaching the master class, and they all like know where everyone is auditioning, where everyone they're hoping. So yes, I think there's a shift from when I was doing it, but there seems to be something else too. There
Yeah,
seems,
I do
at
think
least in this experience, these group of young people were like fully invested not only in themselves but each other and their successes.
yeah, I think having Gen Z students, been like on the cusp of Gen Z, I feel like, I don't know, there's just a different expectation or a different, yeah, I don't know how to explain it, but I think working with late millennials and Gen Z students, I think that reinstilled my hope in the sense of community in theater, because for me, when I was training, it was very competitive and very cliquey and very catty. And I even recall one of my professors, who wasn't a performance professor, but another professor in the theater department, saying, "I don't know how you guys went through that," and that he's so glad that students don't do that anymore, or maybe not as much, because it made him feel more hopeful about the sense of community in a theater department too.
Yeah. I
Yeah.
mean, you're making me think. Something I say often to young performers now is the Patti LuPone thing doesn't fly anymore.
Oh no.
And I use that like everyone kind of gets what I mean by that. And that's what shifted. Literally everyone, not everyone, but it was a cultural thing to idolize the diva behavior
Yeah.
of someone like a Patti LuPone.
Yeah.
Like we loved her because of the diva behavior. I mean, her voice too, and we love listening to her, but that doesn't fly anymore. It feels like you're in a foreign country if you bring that up because everyone looks at you like, why would you treat someone like that?
Yeah.
And that is, I'm like, oh, thank goodness we moved past that.
Yeah. Do you want to talk about your journey to getting a
Swingdom.
national tour? Yeah,
Yeah.
swingdom.
Swingdom. Yeah. A year after I graduated, I had done some theater stuff. I went back to that. It's so nice if you are someone people like to work with. I just got offered a season at the summer stock the next year, which was really great. I got a call going, "Can you do this?" from the director. And I'm
That must
like,
have felt
yes.
nice.
Yeah, it was so nice. So I went back there. But right before I left, there was an audition for a show that was coming to Broadway, won the Olivier in the West End, and it was Jolson the musical. And so it was like everyone was going out for it. And I got down to the end, and then I didn't hear anything. So I did my summer stock gig. They then did another round of auditions because they changed creative team, the director and the choreographer. And the choreographer was someone named Joey McNeely, who had just choreographed The Life and Smokey Joe's Cafe, and he was on Broadway and Carrie the musical and things like that. So it was really cool. They called some of us back in, and we auditioned for that new creative team. And then I went and did my summer stock gig, and like you're waiting because it went really well, and I was like, I think that went really well. And then somebody in that cast, I said, yeah, I'm waiting to hear about Jolson. And he was like, oh, my friend's already got calls. Like, I think they've already cast it. And I was like, oh, and it was just such a sad, like that thing that I'm assuming everybody goes through when you realize, especially when you're thinking there's a possibility and then you didn't get it. And then I got a phone call the week after I left the Summerstock gig um, with an offer to join the tour. And I wasn't the swing initially. They didn't say that. They were like, just want you to be part of the ensemble. Then I got a call a week later asking me if I would be the swing. And what was interesting, the reason this is why resumes are so important in listing everyone you know, because the producers knew one of the choreographers of a show I did. And they called her and said, do you think he could be the swing? Oh, because I was also the dance captain. That was the thing
Okay.
to know if she thought I could be the dance captain. And apparently she thought I could be. And so they offered me the swing and the dance captain. So I was the swing and the dance captain. I was the swing. I covered 7 ensemble roles. And then I think like 4 featured roles, one of them being like an 80-year-old klezmer singer, which I should have never gone on for. I got a note the first time I went on that was like, I didn't look old enough. And I was like,
You're like, what
I'm
am I supposed to do with this
23.
baby face?
Exactly. But that's how I got in. So it was kind of a long process where I actually thought I didn't get it. And I got called late. So maybe they weren't going to cast me. Maybe I was somebody backed out but that's how I got it.
What were it's funny because I have specific questions about this, but I'm also thinking very interested in the invisible work that people don't see, especially for people who are swings and dance captains and understudies and have all of these responsibilities, which is such a different thing than just having one track to learn.
Yeah.
What was there a sort of shell shock of realizing how much work had to go into preparing for all of those tracks and all of those responsibilities? And also, how did you, at 23, suss that out for yourself to figure out what do I need to work on in order to make this happen and be successful at it?
I think the shell shock came when all of a sudden I was in a rehearsal and no one paid attention to me. And I don't know if that's a typical culture thing for swings, but in that case, the choreographer almost never talked to me. It was very weird. I was the dance captain. He had an assistant who was amazing, and she was great with me. She would kind of take me under her wing, and she taught me because I wrote the book for all the choreography. So that was a skill I learned. I had never done dance notation before. So she kind of
On the
taught
job
me
training.
how, yeah, it was
Yeah.
on the job training. But yeah, but that having no connection and being like, wait, am I even part of this show? Luckily, I also had the female swing. There were only 2 of us who were swings. So we would be in the back, like learning the choreography together. And we got along so well.
What was the system that you learned? Did you learn that from somebody else? Like, this is how establish what the blocking is for these different tracks and how to mark it up in your book? And was that something that you inherited from somebody else and then adapted, or was it something you had to kind of figure out on the fly?
I think once I learned how to notate, I just created my own book for everyone's track. I mean, the challenging thing about this show, there was one number. It was this big swing 40s, like World War II number. We were all sailors. So there were 7 couples swing dancing, and then every single one did something different. Like they all were in different spots because it just felt like a party.
Yeah.
So things like that, I was like, oh, okay. And then just getting used to that. Once I started going into the show, just doing the put-ins and like rehearsing with that partner before to make sure I knew the traffic and all of that. So I wasn't running into anybody. So I took what I learned about dance notation and I just created my book.
What skills do you think make for a strong swing? I mean, let's just talk craft first.
The willingness to play. And I do think that's craft. I know that's
Yeah.
also like an inside personality confidence thing, but I'm talking about like do different characters. do different voices. I had to play an 80-year-old klezmer singer where I walked out, I was like, he'll sing you and oh, and it was
At
ridiculous that I
23.
did that. Well,
At 23.
at 23.
Yeah.
Just really get your character stuff, like explore what you can do, because you may have to do it to go on to it for a part that you're like, this is so wrong that I'm doing this part.
Yeah.
But you still
Like
want to make
skills
it
you would need for
yeah,
transforming into these
transform.
various, yeah.
That's it. So like
Yeah.
voice work, which I didn't have at all. I never had any voice training for the kind of work that you do. That would have been amazing. I think it's really everything that makes you adaptable to anything the show needs you to be is probably, so that's having the biggest vocal range you can have, having the most colors in your voice that you can find, like singing and character wise, every kind of dance you can possibly learn and understand and do well. I think all of those things I'm realizing as I'm talking, except for the vocal training, I did the dancing. I definitely I could do many different things. And I think that was a skill. My tapping got so good because Donna Lynn Champlin, who, if you Google her, played Ruby Keeler in the show, and she is this incredible tap dancer. She's like a hoofer. And I was not a hoofer, but then I was the dance captain. So I had to be able to teach that because she left and I had to teach the new Ruby Keeler. And so just being the best that you can be with everything so that the creative team can go, oh, yeah, they can cover that. They can cover that. They can cover that.
Yeah. And I think there's some value in working with people who are more skilled than you, because it constantly gets you to then raise the bar and then you're always developing your skills. It's always this growth mindset thing of I could learn how to do that because this person's challenging me to be able to do that too.
Yeah. Yeah, it's interesting. I have a story about my experience that I feel like would be useful for people listening, especially young
Yeah, let's
performers.
hear it.
One of the things that was challenging in this experience was that I don't think people took me seriously on the creative team and producing team. They were like, he's a 23-year-old, whatever. No one really paid attention to me. Um, there was a situation that when we opened and the choreographer left and the assistant left, that day on the stage, people started reworking the choreography. And I was like, oh, I don't think. And so I went up on stage. I was like, y'all, we can't be changing the choreography. And they were like, but this part is so bad. This part is, and I was like, I'm, I just, I don't think we can do that. So I called the assistant just because I'm 23 and I'm like, can you do this? She's like, Jason, you're doing the right thing. They can't do that. So I went back to the actors and was like, listen, I just talked to Lynn. You guys, we can't do this. Like if we want to change something, we just have to go through the choreographer and things like that. I got called into the producer's office that night and said, we heard that you called Lynn. And I was like, yeah, the actors are starting to change choreography. And I was literally told that is not my job. And I was like, oh, okay. And it was like this weird, like everyone was talking around me and had made a decision that they didn't like the choreography. So things were going to change. Nothing ended up changing, but that I was put in my place. And it was a really weird dynamic. And I'm 23 and I'm like, I don't know. Okay, I guess this is how it goes. And so, cut to me starting to put people in the show when they start leaving. So we were on tour for over a year. And I was doing a good job as the swing. And then as the dance captain, putting people in, especially the leads, that same producer was like, you're doing a really good job, Jason. Just as kind of like, oh, I underestimated you. And I share that story because I think this is not a skill thing. I think this is a trusting your instinct thing. I knew they were wrong in that moment. although I got the feeling like I'm not going to win any kind of pushback here. And I trusted my instinct to just go, okay. And yet I stayed connected to that assistant throughout the process when I needed support and stuff. And I told her what happened. I was like, don't tell anyone I told you, but this is what happened. So, and I just stayed focused on doing what I knew, like doing the best I could with all of that. And it came around. And I think the producers really, like, then they started calling me for other things after that tour was done. And I was like, are you kidding me? No, I would never work for a company that was like, that is not your job to maintain the
Yeah.
choreography.
But also, whose job is it then? And also, like, there is an assumed understanding, institutional knowledge, right, of how things are run. And
Yeah.
if that was your first professional
Yeah.
gig and nobody explained what your job responsibilities were to you, how would you know that that's your job or not your job?
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
I think they underestimated me because I was pretty quiet during rehearsals because I was just doing my job.
Mhm.
And I think they were surprised. And I think that was like, what are you doing? We make the decisions. Um, and I don't share that story as a like cautionary tale. This is what it's like. That could just be some bullshit producers. Um, but it's a story, that kind of thing, I'm sure could happen, especially when you're young and you're in a position of authority. Once the creative team leaves, as the dance captain, I was the stage manager and the dance captain. We kept the show like the way it was
The integrity
set.
of it. Yeah.
Yeah, the integrity of it. And just really trying to tap into what you know is right and is a skill
Yeah. And hearing you
to differentiate between insecurity and like, yeah,
intuition. Yeah.
intuition.
How about in terms of personality? Like, what are the skills you think in terms of
I think
somebody's personality, or skills that can be developed that are kind of in the more personality, less to do with craft, that make somebody a strong swing or a strong dance captain or understudy?
the first thing that comes to mind is really liking, I'm going to say being curious. I think what made me a really good swing was like, how do I do this part? How do I do this part? Like, this is fun. This 80-year-old klezmer guy, when I found out I was doing that, I was like, what? And I didn't freak out. I just was like, that'll be fun. How do I do that? So I think curiosity is something personality wise, just being curious. I'm also a Gemini and I get bored. Swinging was perfect for me because I was covering so many people. And once I started going in, I was in like a majority of the time, but it
Mhm.
was always something different. And there would be days because I was the only swing. There was one performance where I covered three guys who were out. Like I went from a tap dancing boy to a quick change into that 80-year-old klezmer singer came out in the next scene, and which never should happen. But that personality wise, I think I had a natural, like, I loved that kind of the adrenaline that comes from, oh my God, something new. So I think swinging gives you that opportunity to be doing new things all the time. So it's not, oh my gosh, I'm doing this for the 8th time, for the 300th time, you same thing.
I always say that curiosity is, I mean, many of my students have heard me say that I think curiosity is the strongest personality trait or strongest skill you can have as an actor,
Yeah.
because it just keeps you so open.
Keeps you open. And, uh, it's interesting. I'm going to say this and then I'm even curious your response to this. I say to actors all the time, just be nice. Like that's a personality thing too. And nice, I'm not saying there's one way to be nice. I'm not saying conform to like this fake, but just be somebody that people want to work with.
Yeah.
I think I established that. And like I got work because of that tour because people in the cast had other things and they would recommend me. And again, it's not a specific personality trait, but just consider how you're treating people and be
Yeah.
somebody that people want to be around.
Yeah. Do you think that that is something that can be learned? Do you think it has to do with people checking their own ego at the door, or
Oh,
like
well, see, that's a
losing
good.
that assumption that or entitlement? Do you think that those kind of things people can reflect on and that makes them easier to work with in general?
I just recently was telling someone like humility can go a long way. But when I say that to you, when I think back to when I was 23, I'm like, was I humble? I think I was because I was insecure being the youngest person in the cast who was the dance captain of the cast. So I had a natural built in humility. Like at any moment, I could really mess up. So I worked extra hard to be like, no, I deserve to be in this position. So there was a built in humility there, but humility goes a long way
Yeah.
too. But I want to say about being nice, I think there's a trap there too. And I think based on gender, there's an expectation for women to like smile more and not rock the boat.
Yeah.
And you and I have talked about this. There's a difference between being nice and ignoring problematic things and not speaking up, and being nice, but also being willing to name when you need something or someone else, like standing up for
Yeah.
somebody else.
Yeah. I think it's
And
maybe the difference between being nice and being kind. That
yeah,
niceness feels very like a facade of like, we're just trying to like, keep the peace and the people pleasing. It's being complicit,
yeah,
like niceness through complicity.
yeah. But you and I talked to my friend who speaks up all the time and has a reputation as being difficult to work with. Like she acknowledged that. She's like, I probably haven't gotten gigs because I've spoken up for problematic things that needed to be said out loud. So I think depending on the company you're in for a show, it's about navigating it. But that's why knowing the difference between insecurity and intuition for yourself is an important
Yeah.
thing to navigate.
And that the power dynamic too, because that's going to be different for, men versus women or to
That's
do
right.
with race or age. Like there's
Yeah.
a assumed culture around
Yeah.
who's allowed to push back and who will be
So
taken seriously if they push back.
that's the thing. I think for a long time in my 20s and 30s, I would be like, just speak up. And then I, of course, was looked in the mirror and was like, oh, I guess my voice
You have the privilege
probably.
to do that. Yeah. How would you train differently, knowing what you know now, if you were to do a national tour, to do a role that you needed to be a swing for?
I think I would just be in class all the time. I don't think I took it seriously. When I was young, everything just seemed possible. And, for me personally, like Donnelly Champlin kicking it out, and rose to the occasion. Now, I'd be in class before so that my tap dancing was like flawless and I would feel comfortable walking into that space. I'd be in voice lessons all the time. I'd be in acting classes just to do everything I said you could, my answer to you about craft, just so
Yeah.
I could play with different characters. And I don't think I took it that seriously. I was like, just get me a show. Just put me in the show. I didn't revel in the craft of it. So I think I would just do that differently. I think
Yeah.
now I love the craft of it more than I worry about performing.
There's an episode of Good Hang where Jonathan Groff talks about his beginning, and he said something like that. He called his dad and said, I can't do this, but if they give me a shot, I can learn how." Like trusting, like having such self-trust that you can
Yeah.
figure it out. That sounds very similar to your story of like, I had such a passion for this. I knew I had a skill level that could get me so far, and then I
Yeah.
could figure the rest out on the job. So it's really also nice to hear you say, I also, if I could do it again, I would be training so much harder.
Yeah. Yeah. Because that anxiety of I may not be able to do it is not necessary.
Yes,
I mean,
exactly.
maybe it drove me when I was younger, but now, like this many years later, I just I wish and I'll say this for me personally, and I want to say this just in case anyone listening has this too. Um, I I was afraid of not doing things perfectly, and so I was a musician. I could dance. I could act. I could sing. I was never going to be the best at any of those things. I loved dancing. I found out that I'm a pretty good actor. The singing thing, I mean, my audition coach was like, it's too bad about your voice. I mean, you don't get much more. Okay, so I'm not a singer. I mean, I can sing, but I'm not going to be a lead in a show. But I think I stayed out of class because then I could, if I didn't get the dance call, like I didn't get cast, I could be like, well, I'm not really a dancer. I'm an actor. And if I didn't get
Mm.
cast in the play, I'd be like, well, I'm really a singer dancer. And if I didn't get a singing role, I'd be like, well, I'm really more of a conductor in the pit. Like, I always had the reason why I wasn't getting that thing because actually I do this thing. But the fact is I wasn't training to be the best I could be because it was safer. I could blame it on, you know what I mean? Like
That
I
is
would
the
claim this.
definition of fixed mindset, is somebody told you that you were good at this thing, and therefore you're not willing to take any more risks because you're not willing to lose that status. But they told you you're a good dancer, so that becomes the thing that you're not willing to like push yourself to become good at other things because that's the one thing that like makes you feel like you have value. Rather than
Or,
thinking this is something I can keep building on and keep improving.
yeah,
Take risks to learn new things.
yeah. Or like take a higher level dance class
Oh God, yeah.
and be told by them, mm, then that shatters. I remember going, after that tour, I was like, I'm a tap dancer, which I was. Like I could tap really well. So I went and took a Jason Samuels intermediate tap class, which was hoofing. It wasn't like jazz musical
Yeah.
theater. And I knew that and I was like, yeah, let's do it. Oh my gosh. I raised my hand like 5 minutes in just to ask for clarification. And it was a sub. She goes, you're already asking a question? That is literally what she said to me. And I
Ouch.
went, no, no, it's okay. It's all good. And oh my gosh, talk about humbling. I never went back.
Yeah.
That,
But
that's
I
what,
think that's fixed mindset because
and
you
that's what
went,
I would
I'm
do
not
different.
willing to be vulnerable in this in between place of I haven't figured it out yet.
Yeah. And that's what I'd do differently. I'd go back to that class.
That's so good.
Yeah.
Thank you for sharing that.
Yeah.
Is there any sort of setback or rejection that changed how you worked or that shifted your mindset around pursuing performing?
I mean, about performing, I think I was a cover for. I just told you that my audition coach was like, "Too bad about your voice," and yet he cast me in a show where I was his assistant choreographer. But he cast me as the understudy for literally the role is the tenor, and has two solos in the show. But I'm never going to go on. Like, oh, but he then had a conflict one weekend, and I had a whole weekend of shows. So I like worked and it had a G in it, like a high, beautiful G, which I do not have. But I found the vowel, I found the placement. And that first performance, you had to sing it twice in the song, the same note. One was
Yeah.
on stage, and then I would go backstage for the dancers to dance, and I would sing on the offstage mic, the same note. When I got to that note, it cracked so bad that I held it too. But in my head, I was like, wow, oh my God. When the sound stopped, you could hear the audience murmuring, and I'm not being dramatic. Like the audience was like, oh God, and audibly. So I finished that moment and I go off stage and I'm kind of like, and I'm by myself backstage because everyone else is doing quick changes and people are on stage. And I'm about to have to sing the same note again. And I took that mic off the stand and I did the deepest plie when I sang that high note, because that's what my voice teacher told me to do for high notes. And I got it. And I still had 2 more shows to do. So, like, the mind games I was doing, like, I can't do this. And here's the part that I think changed me. Like, I was embarrassed. And after the show, my sister was there and she was like, oh my God, that was so good. You were so good. And I was like, did you hear that note? She goes, oh my God, it was so bad. I felt so bad for you. and, and that, like, I'm getting emotional thinking about it because there was such a release in that moment of perfection. Because the fact is, It was really bad. And yet I continued to get hired. The cast and I were able to laugh about it. I did the rest of the shows and I got the note. Like I was able to hit it. Probably not well, but like I did it. I did my job. And that changed how I showed up with a little bit less fear of making a mistake and for my whole life, not just on stage. And that moment changed how I show up in the world.
Yeah. It's that
So it was a
that
real
failing
gift.
forward. You can't really let a setback completely derail you,
Right.
especially because you had to keep going.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. But you know what people said to me? And I know a few people said this in the cast privately. They were like, I just love hearing you sing because it's like you are telling a story. And that I was like, I will take that because I knew by that point my limitations because I was told by my audition coach. So I learned
But
how to tell a story really well.
yeah, that
And
meant you were beefing up these other skills that you knew you had to compensate for a technical skill that you were still
yeah,
working towards.
but I guess now I'm looking at it and I'm like, that's amazing that I even went on when I was told by someone I admire that about your voice. But he also cast me.
Also
So
cast you, yeah.
yeah, but I don't think he thought I was going to go on. But anyway, so you're making me think like, oh, I had some courage.
Yeah. Thanks for sharing that.
Yeah.
Are you ready for rapid fire? I think I need you to step kind of back into your 23-year-old self
Oh gosh.
to think about these. But actually,
Okay.
I think some of these rapid fire you can answer as present day Jason.
Okay.
All right, here we go. Rapid fire. A ritual you would do before stepping on stage.
10 push-ups.
A skill you're currently trying to improve.
I don't know if I should do it. Like currently, like me at my age,
Yeah.
this is so not rapid fire anymore.
Well, but also like the audiences don't know that you're working on memorizing a one-person show.
Oh, that's
You're
right.
working
I'm
on buyer
working
and
on
seller.
exactly.
So what is the skill that you're trying to improve by working on buyer and seller?
Oh, memorization of like 100 pages of dialogue. Yeah, yeah, yeah. That's a good
Yeah.
one. Thank you.
Cool. Yeah. A creative habit you swear by.
There's nothing because I show up to everything looking for a new thing. So I don't think of anything I do as a habit, if that makes sense.
Yeah. Is it more like your curiosity and open-mindedness, like
Yeah,
practicing like
that's the
that
habit.
emergent principle? Yeah.
That's the habit is showing
Yeah.
up to everything with complete openness to every possibility.
Awesome.
That's my habit.
A failure that taught you the most.
I think the story I just told you,
Yeah.
because it changed how I showed up in life and
Totally.
chilled out.
Dream role.
Um, Mama Rose and Gypsy.
For sure. For sure. A note that changed your work forever.
This is gonna. And I'm realizing how much I take a negative thing and turn it into an opportunity. Because my acting teacher, I came in after her saying I might need to go to the beginner class, and then I came in the next time and kind of nailed it. And she said, "Okay, well." Now you're better than 90% of the people out there, but you're still at the bottom of the 10% who work.
Woof.
And why that was so life changing is I realized, oh, people who are there to teach us, I need to take them off the pedestal because they're human too. That had nothing to do with me, that comment. And I could feel that in that moment. And the class was kind of like, and I even was like, that was so unnecessary.
Yeah.
So I
Projecting
think
much?
I just started being able to look for people that had genuinely my best interest, that she wasn't that person.
Yeah.
So she needed me to stay in her class. And that
Right.
comment would make me doubt myself to stay in that class.
Yes. Yeah.
So,
What keeps you hopeful?
I think where we talked about the way younger generations are showing up for each other.
Yeah. One thing you wish you could tell your younger self.
It's going to get so good around 50. Hang in there.
One word. What?
Hang in there.
Mm,
Well, you know what it is? My high school choir director told me you have a lot of talents. You're going to have to pick one, or else you're going to be mediocre at everything and not great at one thing. For a while, I was like, I'm going to prove him wrong. And then I was like, maybe he was right. And I finally back up, like, go fuck yourself.
yeah.
So I'm enjoying doing a million different things.
Yeah. You are truly a multi-hyphenate.
Yeah.
One word that describes your artistic process.
Yeah, I think it's back to curiosity. I
So
think why
good.
I love directing so much is because really, as a director, you're just asking people questions. Well, what if it's this? What is this about? Why are you doing that? Why? Like, I love hearing the answers and even like coming up with possible
Yeah.
answers to
You're
that
so
stuff.
good at that. You're so
Yeah.
good at asking questions. It's why you're such a valuable collaborator on the play that I'm writing.
Oh my God, I love asking, and I'm learning how to ask better questions because of that
Mm,
collaboration.
nice.
Yeah.
All right. Last question. Finish the sentence. Being an artist means.
There's I'm putting so much pressure. This is the perfectionist putting so much pressure on saying the most impactful thing.
What
So
feels the
I'm
most
gonna
true right
say
now? Yeah.
being an artist is being a reflector of humanity. That makes me want to like. I'm so glad I'm an artist
Yeah.
because
Me
I
too.
want that job.
Thank you so much for spending some time with me and being my first guest and helping
Yeah,
me, rip the Band-Aid off of doing something new and scary and not trying to be a perfectionist about it and just showing up as we are and
yeah,
being with each other.
absolutely. Thank you so much. Do you want to end it with me singing? Kidding.
Mama Rose? Yeah.
No, I was gonna be like, do you want me to sing that note that I messed up? Thank you so much.
Yeah, my pleasure.